Thank you for being here. My name is Dana. I'm a strategic user experience and product consultant. And I've been doing this for a really long time. I've been pretty much seeing this industry from every perspective that you can think of. And for the past 18 years, I've either hired user experience professionals or I've been hired as a UX professional. I've helped companies hire UXers. So I can tell you from that perspective that today we live in pretty amazing times, because the days when I needed to explain or to convince or to sell to companies why having a UXer on board at the very initial stages of a project, those days are over. Everyone wants a UXer on board. Many new UXers are born every year, which is great news, right? However, and there's always this little however, the current state of things is a bit confusing, chaotic, challenging. And hiring a UXer is not always that easy. So it's finding the right person and understanding what you need, and at the end of the road, making sure that that engagement works well for both parties involved. So today I want to share with you some of my experience, some knowledge, tools, some do's and don'ts, tips and tricks, whatever you call them, on how to make this work.
Could you just, yeah. I'm here for the UX ninja position. Next.
Hello.
So what we want to do today is understanding your needs. That's the first thing that you all need to do when you want to hire a new UX for your team. And this could be, by the way, a full-time person. This could be a freelancer, or this could be an agency, or anyone that would help you with your UX needs. You need to understand what are the different dimensions that make a great user experience professional. And then I will try to give you tools on how to assess them. Okay? So we'll start by understanding your needs. So first of all, you need to search your soul, okay? Think about, and this is a bit of a of a long list, but I really want to go over with this. It's not that long, okay? Don't be scared. Think about, do your homework and think about what are your goals, okay? What are your goals with this engagement? Do you have an investor's presentation in 2 weeks? Do you have a really important conference that you need to show a demo at in a month? Do you have an idea for an amazing product and you need a UXer to walk with you hand by hand for a long-term engagement? Perhaps you have a product that is out there already, but for some reason users are not there and you need to perhaps redesign it, or you have an existing product and you need a new module, whatever that comes to mind. Make sure that when you're asked, it's very clear for you what is that thing that you need to do. What are your timelines? Okay, is it 2 weeks or is it a long-term relationship? Where are you in the process of that definition? How cooked are you with your requirements? Do you already have an 85 pages of specifications with all your requirements, and you need someone to turn them into screens, or do you need someone to define that with you? What are your in-house strengths, and where do you want this person to kind of complete your internal capabilities? What kind of role do you want this person to fill? Is this someone that will need to lead the whole process, or is it someone that is going to be another member of the team? These questions are, of course, going to help you understanding what type of, what's the type of profile that you need and what's the seniority that you need this person to have. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Now that you have a clearer picture of what is that you need in-house, and I strongly recommend you to do that exercise with yourselves and even write those things down, because you are going to get asked that by the person that you're going to interview. Now it's time to find the right match. In order to find the right match, there are a few dimensions that I want you to look at, okay? Tools, seniority, domain experience, those are the first three ones, and we're going to run through them very, very quickly. Tools. And we see this in a lot of job postings, okay? We need someone that masters UXer, that is, it's amazing with Sketch, with Photoshop, with whatever tools that are out there. And for some reason, many people think that if you're proficient with a certain tool, then it's a sign that you're a good professional. So my personal perspective on this, I don't care at all about the tools. Tools are something that is learnable, that the person can acquire, but can they think straightly? Can they solve a problem? Those are more difficult things, okay? So tools, okay, do they know the tools? Do they don't? I really don't care. So from my perspective, get rid of those. Seniority, those questions pretty much were answered in the previous session, when you were thinking about where this person is going to work within your organization. Do you need someone that can think very broadly, that can see a system? Or do you want someone that can be very focused on the details and provide perhaps very detailed specifications to your developers or to your designers? Domain experience. Have they done something that is relevant to your startup and to your project? For example, do they have experience with medical devices? Let's say that your startup deals with medical devices. Or do they have experience with VR? Do they have experience with IoT? Or I don't know, enterprise applications or consumer applications or e-commerce? Those questions are very relevant, or looking for someone that has that kind of experience is important and will definitely save up some time for you if you find someone that has those qualities. But those are also in the territories of things that a really great professional will be able to learn pretty quickly, okay? So you can, a really good professional, what they bring with them is the methods and the processes and the problem-solving capabilities and so on and so forth. Thank you. So the domain experience is something that they will acquire pretty quickly. So if you find someone that matches those requirements, great. If you don't, that's fine. Now, let's focus on the two things that, from my perspective, matter the most. And these are what I've decided to call elements of user experience and the user experience qualities, okay? So elements of user experience is like, it's a super famous book in user experience design. It was wrote by Jesse James Garrett around 16 years ago. And he talks about the multi-layered structure of user experience design. And basically, what are all the different aspects that need to be covered for having a really great user experience, and therefore, what a user experience needs to know, okay, or to be able to do. And these are the elements of user experience. And since this book was written 16 years ago and the industry keeps evolving, the elements change and evolve as well. So today, we're going to focus on these ones, which are the very basic pillars of user experience design. And instead of explaining you, I mean, each one of these is pretty much, you know, a lecture of its own or an entire workshop. But what I want to do is to show you specific job postings from Google for these areas of expertise. Okay, so for example, we had their user research, the first one. This is a job opening for a user experience researcher at Google. And what a user experience researcher does is reveal what users need by conducting primary research, exploring the behaviors and motivations of users. Okay? So these people, and we have many here in the audience, they do observations, they do testing, validation, they talk to users, and they take data and analyze it in order to come up with insights that are going to come up to interaction designers, or what we sometimes call user experience designers here, as their input, okay? So interaction designers, what they do is they take those insights brought in by the user researchers, and they bring that life, or those insights, that vision into life. They translate that into intuitive, accessible, and easy-to-use designs, okay? Crafting user flows and wireframes to building user interface mockups and prototypes. So these are the guys that are putting together concepts, flows, wireframes, okay? And as I said, this is what we sometimes call experience designers or UX designers. Then it's the turn of the visual designers. The visual designers do iconography, typography, color, space, and texture, and produce high-quality visuals, okay? So this is what we sometimes refer to as UI design. So these are the looks, or the soundtrack, sometimes we also like to call it, of the application. There are open positions at Google also for information architects, and open positions for sound designers and for motion designers. But we're talking about startups, right? And at a startup, we can't hire one person to do each one of these different perspectives. What do we need? We need a unicorn, right? And we see a lot of job posts asking for unicorns, for ninjas, for rock stars, for superheroes, where really they are asking for a very, very wide range of skills. So we have the specialists, right? Like the job posts at Google, and we have unicorns. And I personally don't think that unicorns exist. Or perhaps they do exist, and perhaps they're here in the audience, but I'm not sure that they're necessarily available or that you can afford them. Because I don't really believe in someone that is amazing at everything, okay? And that's the definition of unicorns. I do believe absolutely in generalists. For me, a generalist is someone that can do a lot of things. Perhaps he's great at something, but he can do many, many things in a pretty okay way. And what you need to do, and that's why I asked you to define your needs at the first stage of the process, is understand where you need this person to be amazing at and where he can be okay, and you would be at a pretty good stage. I've found this model, and I've made some changes to it. You can find it at Medium and in that link down there. And basically, on the x-axis, you can see the different elements of UX. And you can put in this axis whatever you want, right? Here I put research, interaction design, visual design, prototyping, strategy. You could put, let's say that sound is super important for you, then sound design would be one of the attributes that you would assess here. And on the y-axis, you have the level of expertise. And then what I suggest you to do is that you decide where you want your candidate to be, right? In this case, let's say we need someone that is amazing at interaction design and is a pretty good researcher, and he can help you with research. And then when you start looking at candidates, again, either for full-time positions or as freelancers, you can assess them based on these exact, on those attributes, and decide whether someone meets your needs or doesn't. And it's like buying a house. There's never a perfect match, and you need to decide where you're going to be a bit more flexible. So this person is an amazing visual designer, and he knows some prototyping and a little bit of interaction design, and so on and so forth. And this would be a pretty good generalist, right? Because he's okay at a bunch of things, but perhaps not amazing at any of those. So now that you've understood the model and you understand what you can do in order to assess your potential UXers, how do you know that the person in front of you can really do the job? Reviewing for portfolios is usually not the answer, unless you're looking for a visual designer. If you're looking for a visual designer, absolutely look at portfolios. If you're looking for an experienced designer, portfolios are usually not the way, unless, and I've seen very few of this, portfolios really convey the depth and complexity and problem solving and process that this person went through. In most cases, the depth of the work that the user experience designer does is not something that you can assess when you look at a bunch of screenshots. And again, there are amazing user experience design portfolios, but there are very, very few of those because it takes a lot of time to put them together. Portfolios push you into assessing looks, so be careful of those. So what can you do in order to assess the user experience designer? Look at the UX, at the qualities of this person, okay? You have to meet them. There's no really other choice. Of course, you can do your phone filtering and the regular things that you would do with any candidate, but then I strongly suggest that you meet them. And the qualities that you should be looking at that are not stuff that you learn at school, but the personal qualities that you should be looking at are these. And I don't have time to go into details why these are really important, but trust me on this. This is what you want to see, okay? And how do you assess this? As I said, you need to meet them. And when you meet them, you need to clear some time for it. I'd say at least an hour or an hour and a half. I know it sounds a lot, but then it's really important that you do it. And I suggest that you divide your interview or your meeting in 3 phases. The first one is talk about your product. Present your product, but really, really in short. And try not to explain too much, not to expose too much. Because what you want to see is whether these people are asking you the tough questions, are challenging you. Are they really interested in the product? Are they curious? Are they really interested in understanding the essence of what's behind it and who are the users? Are they really engaged, okay? So let's say you have 1 hour, spend around 10 minutes doing this. And then spend another 20 minutes or even 30 minutes talking about their work. And by their work, I mean, yes, now we're going into the portfolio, but we're going into details, okay? And in this case, what I like to do is I like to ask the person to present a project that they're really, really proud of. So something that they feel comfortable with. And then when they present it, what I want to hear is, again, not if it's pretty. Of course, the end result is super important, but I really want to understand what's their track of thought. I really want to understand what's the process that they did, how they tackle the challenges. I'm sure that they got into a lot of problems. I want to hear how they solved those and what are the workarounds that they found when they were putting together a concept and why they got to that specific concept and why it matches those users and that market that they need to meet. Okay, so you really want to be going deep here. And the last part would be a whiteboard task. And this is where you can see and assess whether you're going to be able to work with this person and how you two interact and whether this is producing a really great product or there's no really good chemistry. So the last part of the session, think about a task that you can do together. It could be something that is related to your product, or it could be something that is, I don't know, just redesign Pango or redesign Tinder or whatever that comes to mind. And give it as such, as a pretty high-level task, and see how they take the lead, how they approach the task, what are the questions that they ask you, what are their assumptions, whether they jump into drawing directly or they think about the process before they get to that end result, which is an end product that can be actually drawn and sketched. Was that a good experience? Is that a person that you can trust, that you would want to work with? This is something that you can achieve in such a collaborative task, and I highly, highly, highly recommend you to do it. If nothing of what I've said works, you can do this, or perhaps I should have given you this handout. It's a coloring page for a unicorn, so you can paint it as you like. And this is actually a real task that was given out in a conference. I just found it really funny. And thank you very much.